There was a time in my life when a counselor said to me, strengthen yourself in the Lord. Well, great. How do you do that? Um, what does that mean? It's a great passage. It's a great scripture. We're going to talk about it. But how do you do it? At times, all of us probably have had times when we've felt beaten down in the pits and we've just lost all sort of strength. Well, I love old saints. Now, I'm not talking about saint this and this, but old people who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the scars. And I remember a couple that shared stories with me from their days on the mission field. And something just strengthened me within my own internal self. Another thing I really like to do is I like to read biographies of people that I admire, and these can range from quite a long time ago to quite recent. And what I find in these biographies are people who are just like me, facing into struggles just like me, and I sort of glean a little bit of strength from their experiences. Now, that phrase that we've got here, strengthen yourself in the Lord, well, that comes from a biography of King David. And it says, but David strengthened himself in the Lord. And it comes from um, passage in 1 Samuel 30, verse 6. You see, David had been out and done a whole lot of stuff and fought some battles, and he came back, and his township had been wrecked and ruined. The people had been carried away, and he had lost everything. The town had been burned, women, children had been taken, including David's two wives. And he returned home to this with his fighting men, and everybody was in distress. You can imagine it was just complete shambles. And so the mood changed from just grief and bitterness to anger towards David. And they made plans to actually stone him to death. And so David was in a crisis, but the passage says, but David strengthened himself in the Lord. Now, the first thing that really grabs me in that passage is that he took responsibility for himself. He didn't make it somebody else's responsibility to strengthen him or put something into him. He didn't just wait upon God to just drop a big miracle bomb on him to strengthen him. No, I can imagine like him just going into himself and strengthening himself to actually face up to this particular challenge. And there's no 5-step plan mentioned in this passage as to how he did this. But I believe that he did it because he had built up a lot of really good habits in his life. Now, if you've ever watched athletes, compete in an event, whether it be swimming, biking, um, running around a racetrack, all that sort of thing, we see them and we go, wow, look at how far they could throw that. But how they got there was because they did lots and lots and lots of hours of training and practicing. And a lot of it was unseen by anybody else, maybe a coach or something like that. But for the vast majority of us, don't see the hours that are put in. And it's unrewarded. You don't get any reward for turning up to practice. It's nothing. You might, just gain a few little seconds of time and a clap from a few people, but it's totally unrewarded. It's unseen, unrewarded, and it just has to happen for the athlete. They turn up rain, hail, shine, and put in the work. Now, I believe that David strengthened himself because he did three things, all right? The first one, he proactively built a relationship with God. He would spend time in Scripture. He would sing songs to God, um, and that's the Psalms. And he would proactively, on a daily basis, unnoticed, unrewarded, build a relationship with God. That's the first thing of how do we strengthen ourselves in the Lord. The second thing is, he remembered stories. He remembered stories of past events where he might have been in a similar situation and reminded him, or God worked and he was able to do it. So we remember stories. Remember stories like what I've been telling you about biographies, about ourselves. And the third thing I think is really important is to create signposts. So we might have stories, but we need something to remind us to go and look at that thing. It could be a journal, it could be a verse, it could be something you put up on the wall. I've got an encouragement wall where I'll stick up pictures on the wall to remind myself to, this is reality. These things can work. We've been there, we've done that. And by doing those things, it builds a strength within me to face into the next struggle that I have to face into. We can do it. So I think what we find with David strengthening himself in the Lord, it's an act of choice and repetition. So when the tough times come, which had come for David, he was able to immediately um, go into that place and find the strength. Hey, if you found this video really helpful, can you like the video and subscribe? Now, I do all sorts of videos about mental health and Christian spiritual formation and put them up on YouTube. So you'll get lots of good stuff. Please also subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. It's only once a week. I don't like to spam people with emails every day. That gets annoying. And you may want to give a donation because everything I do on the 20 page is free, but of course there are costs, and so there's a donation down the bottom. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll take what I've taught you here and put it into a daily habit of strengthening yourself. Hey, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.